This video will be about the surface area of prisms and cylinders. So when you're looking at a prism is made up of two bases and then the height that connects them. So a base is the entire triangular piece here at the top. This would be one of the bases of this prism. And then the other base is on the opposite side. So everything connecting those bases are called lateral faces. This here is one of our lateral faces. And the lateral faces are always rectangles when we're working with prisms. Now they could tilt the prisms sideways, which means if it was sideways, the height is actually what looks like the length. Because the height is always connecting from base to base. And you don't just have to have a triangle, you could have a rectangular prism. Or even, more sides to the base, we could have a pentagonal prism. So on and so forth. So for all of these though, they all have the same surface area. The surface area is always the lateral area plus the area of the bases. Now the lateral area has its own kind of formula to break down. With the lateral area, it's always the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. With the area of the bases, it depends on what kind of base you have. A triangle has its own area formula, a rectangle has its own area formula, and we'll go over that as we go through some examples. So let's say we have a rectangular prism. So first we would need to find the lateral area. The lateral area, I'm going to use LA for lateral area. So we said lateral area was the perimeter times the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. So we need to be able to find this in order to then find the surface area. So lateral area is only consisting of those lateral faces. It does not include the top and bottom base. So we need the perimeter of one of the bases. Now, one of our bases is this rectangle at the bottom. If we're going to find the perimeter of that, we need all four sides, and we know the sides across from each other on a rectangle are the same. So the perimeter of the base would be the 4 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7. Then we know that has to multiply by the height of the prism. The height is what connects the bases, so we'd have 12. So when we add that all together, we get 22 timesing by 12, and we get 264. So that's just the lateral area. We know the surface area is the lateral area plus the area of the bases. So we know lateral area now is 264. We need to find the area of the bases. Well, we have two bases, the top and the bottom. We know the sides are 4 and 7, and we know they're rectangles. So we need to know what's the area of a rectangle. The area of a rectangle is just base times height, or sometimes they'd use length times width. Doesn't matter which one you do, except for base times height. You can get sometimes confused as to what's the height of the rectangle versus what the height of the prism is. Those are two different things. If I'm just looking at the base itself, the bottom of the shape, then 4 would be the base, 7 would be the height, or 28. Now we do have two of these bases. We have a top and a bottom, so we need to times that by 2 to give us the area of both bases, so that gives us 56. Adding it all together will give us the surface area. 264 plus 56 is 320. So rectangular prisms are the most common. You can also see a triangular prism. So a triangular prism will look something like this. This time I placed the bases on the left and the right. They can rotate these shapes. So if we're going to start by finding the lateral area, that is the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism. So right now we have a 6, we have an 8 on the base. We need this third side, but it has a matching side across from it, so we can move the 10 over there as well. So perimeter would be the 8 plus 6 plus 10. Then we times by the height of the prism, which is 13. Combining that all together, we get 24 times 13, which is 312. Again, that's only the lateral area. To get the full surface area, then we need to take that lateral area and add the area of the bases. So the area of this base, now we have a triangle. So we need the formula for area of a triangle. The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So when our triangle is a right triangle, we like that because it's easier to figure out what the base and the height are. Basically, the sides that the right angle are touching would be the base and the height. So 6 is the base, 8 is the height. And that would give us 24. So now we do our lateral area plus the area of our bases. What we can't forget though are there is two bases, so we need to actually times this by 2 in order to find the area of both bases. 312 plus 48 gives us 360. Next is a cylinder. A cylinder will actually have the same surface area formula as a prism. Surface area of a cylinder is still lateral area plus area of the bases. But the formulas for lateral area and area of the bases will change a little bit. For lateral area, the lateral area is this outside. It's like if you took a can and wrapped a piece of paper around the outside. If we unrolled this, if we kind of cut down and sliced it open, you would end up with a rectangle. Then you'd have a circle for the top of the can and the bottom of the can. So this rectangle is our lateral area, and it consists of this top line times this side line. Now the side line would be height still. The top line would be the distance all the way around a circle, which we call circumference. So lateral area is circumference times the height of the cylinder plus the area of the bases. Now our bases are circles, so area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So let's do an example of the area of a cylinder. So let's say I give you 12 for the diameter. The area formula uses radius, and the circumference formula, you have two options. Circumference, you could either write it as 2 pi r, or circumference can be written as pi times diameter. I stick with the 2 pi r just because I'm going to have to find radius anyway. So that way I only have to plug in one number and not have to worry about which one am I working with. So radius is going to be half of diameter. It's going to be 6. And we know lateral area is circumference times height of the cylinder, which I should give you a height so we can actually find all this information. Let's say the height is 13. And we know circumference is 2 pi r. So plugging that in, we get 2 pi times the radius of 6 times the height of 13. Combining together the 2 times the 6 times the 13 gives us 156, and we're going to leave the pi there for now. So the second part of our surface area formula was area of the bases. Again, there's two bases. There's the top circle and the bottom circle. And area of that is pi times radius squared. So we already know the radius is 6, which gives us 36 pi when we square it. But since there's two of them, we have to times by 2. So now our entire surface area was our lateral area of 156 pi plus our area of our bases of 72 pi. Adding those together gives us 228 pi. Now they may want you to stop here. They may want you to leave pi as part of the answer. That just means pi will kind of drag along the entire problem, but you won't ever actually plug it in as its decimal 3.14. They may also ask you to estimate the answer. So they may ask you to do 228 times 3.14, which would give us 716.3. So it depends on how they ask it. You may stop at 228 pi, or you may approximate it as a decimal and get 716.3. So that ends our discussion on surface area of prisms and cylinders.